Hello, Brighton students. I hope that you and your families are doing great and that you're safe. So in this video, I'll do a quick overview of the first part of the lesson, and I'll continue the second part talking about different types of neurons and also different types of stimuli. So the nervous system is the system of the body responsible of communicating with the outside. So it helps us sense the environment around us, and also it helps the organs within the body to communicate with each other. The nervous system has three distinct functions. So the nervous system receives the information from the outside. It helps sensing the stimuli found in the environment and also inside our bodies. And it takes these information, it analyzes them, and it processes them in order to generate a good response. So the nervous system takes the information, it processes, analyzes, integrates these information, and then when needed, the nervous system makes the right decisions toward this information. Okay, this system consists of two big parts. We have the central nervous system, which is made of both the brain and the spinal cord. So the brain and the spinal cord make the CNS, which is the central nervous system. These two organs, they are the parts that analyze the information and process them and generate the right response. Okay, the central nervous system is connected to the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system, PNS, is made of all the nerves in the body. So the peripheral nervous system is all the nerves, while the central nervous system is the brain with the spinal cord. Okay, now we have two types of nerves. We have, as you can see right here, the nerves coming out or branching from the brain, and these are called the cranial nerves. And those that come out or that are ramifying from the spinal cord. So this is the spinal cord, and we call them spinal nerves. Both the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves build the peripheral nervous system. Okay, while the brain with the spinal cord make the central nervous system. The brain consists of three different parts. So this is the brain, this is the cerebrum of the brain, this is the cerebellum, and this is the medulla oblongata or the brain stem. Each part of these three parts has its own job. The cerebrum, for example, controls all voluntary activities like thinking, learning, memorizing, while the cerebellum is responsible of the movement and maintaining the balance of the body. The medulla oblongata, the brain stem, which connects the brain to the spinal cord, controls involuntary actions. Okay? And this line right here, this is the spinal cord. So again, this is the brain. The brain consists of three different parts: medulla oblongata, cerebellum, and cerebrum. The cerebrum consists of two spheres. The right sphere controls the left part of the body, and the left sphere, the left part of the brain, controls the right side of the body. Again, the brain with the spinal cord build up the central nervous system, while all these blue nerves, they make the peripheral nervous system. Now, the peripheral nervous system, the nerves, they receive the message. We'll talk in this slide about how a nervous message moves inside the nervous system. First of all, something in the outside happens. Maybe a sound, maybe someone gave you an order, you saw an image, you're smelling something good or bad. So we call this a stimulus, an information on the outside. This stimulus is received by a receptor organ. A receptor organ recognizes the stimulus, like, for example, eyes, they recognize an image that you like. The receptor organ will send a message to the central nervous system the message moving from the receptor organ to the central nervous system will take the sensory pathway or the afferent pathway. So it will move through sensory neurons. Okay? Now, this central nervous system, the brain, the spinal cord, so these two organs, they will analyze, they will integrate, process the information in order to make right responses. In order to send this response to an effector organ, so the message moves along the motor pathway or the efferent pathway, okay? A before the E. So the message moves from the central nervous system toward an effector organ through a motor pathway, a motor neuron. This effector organ will take the action. Okay, in class, we took many examples. I'll give now one. So if Ms. Fatin asks you, for example, to copy something from the board, you will look at the board and see the image, see the words. So this is the stimulus, which are the words that are written on the board. Okay, the receptor organs are your eyes. Your eyes will send a message to your brain saying, for example, that to write a neuron, you need to put an N next to an E, next to a U. So the brain is processing the information. The brain gives an order to the muscles in your hand, okay? And then you start copying them. This is how the nervous message moved inside your body from a stimulus, an information in the outside. This information is received by a receptor organ. The receptor organ will send a message to the central nervous system through a sensory neuron. The central nervous system integrates the information and then send a message to the effector organ through the motor neuron. This effector organ will generate an action. Now, actions can be voluntary, يعني you can control them, you think about them, and in this case, both the brain and the spinal cord are involved, or involuntary. So you don't need to think about them. Like, for example, the beating of the heart. We do not control our heart beating, right? So no need to think about the process. This process happens without the involvement or the intervention of the brain. Okay? The brain is a part of the central nervous system. This is a cross-section of the spinal cord. So, cross-section of the spinal cord. Okay? This part is the posterior part of the spinal cord. So right here we have the posterior groove and here anterior or ventral groove. The spinal cord is connected to two spinal nerves. We call this a spinal nerve, and from the other side we have another spinal nerve. Spinal nerves are mixed nerves. What do we mean by mixed? They take two types of information. So they take motor information and sensory information. How is that? From the posterior side of the spinal cord, we have the sensory neuron, okay, taking the message toward the spinal cord. And then from the opposite side, from the ventral side, we have another neuron taking the message toward the effective organ. So as you can see here, this spinal nerve takes the sensory message, but also the motor message. This is why we say that it is a mixed nerve, okay? Even without labeling the picture, you should know how to label it. First of all, in the middle, we have the gray matter. So the gray matter is mainly made of the neuron's body cells, okay? And we have the white matter surrounding the gray matter. Now, how do we distinguish between the posterior root of the spinal nerve and the ventral root of the spinal nerve. What we do is that we look at this fat part, at the ganglion. This is the posterior ganglion. There is a ganglion because the sensory neuron has its cell body in this place. Okay, so how do we know that this is the posterior root? We look at the diagram, we look for the ganglion. Once you find the ganglion, so the ganglion is in the posterior root. This is the posterior root. So this is the root taking the sensory neuron or the sensory message toward the spinal cord. Okay, the cell body of the sensory neuron is found in the ganglion, while the cell body of the motor neuron is found in the gray matter of the spinal cord. We said that there are sensory neurons and also motor neurons. What is a neuron made of, or what's the structure of a neuron? This is what a neuron looks like. This is what it looks like. This part right here, this is the cell body of the neuron, or also called the soma. It is the core section of the neuron, okay? As you can see, this soma or this cell body is connected to dendrites. So look, 1, 2, 3. This neuron has many dendrites. The dendrite's job is to bring the information toward the cell body. So the information is moving toward the cell body, like this, toward it. Okay? While the axon's job or function is to take the message away from the cell body. Okay? So these are the dendrites. This is the cell body, and for sure this is the nucleus in the middle. The whole part right here is the cell body. This is the axon. The axon's function is to take the message or carries messages away from the cell body. Okay? Sometimes axons are covered with myelin sheath, this lipoprotein. And at the end, you will see axon terminals or terminal arborizations. These are usually connected to other organs, other neurons. Now, look at this axon. We call it also a nerve fiber. A nerve fiber joined with other nerve fibers, so a group of nerve fibers, a group of axons make a neuron. And then a group of neurons makes a nerve. Let me show you this picture right here. Look. This is an axon, and this axon is covered with myelin sheath. This is a bundle of axons or bundle of nerve fibers. These bundles together make a nerve. Do you remember at the beginning when we said that the peripheral nervous system is made of nerves? So what are nerves made of? Nerves are made of hundreds of thousands of axons or nerve fibers. This is another picture. So this is an axon. This axon is covered with myelin sheath. This is the bundle of nerve fibers. So many bundles together build the nerves. Again, this is the axon. This is one axon. The axon is sometimes covered with myelin sheath. What is myelin sheath? First of all, myelin sheath is a lipoprotein. It protects the axon and it insulates it. It is an insulator, it is a protector, and it is not continuous. What do we mean by that? Look at the picture right here. So this is the myelin sheath. So it's not continuous, as we can still see the pink part, the axon. This parts of the axon that are not covered with myelin sheath are called nodes of Ranvier. Okay, so the gaps are called nodes of Ranvier. As you can see also here, nodes of Ranvier, node of Ranvier, node of Ranvier, node of Ranvier. Myelin sheath helps increasing the speed of the nervous message moving along an axon. Look at this. We have two different neurons. So the axon of this neuron is myelinated. This one is not. Okay? The message can move along both neurons. However, in here, the message moves in a saltatory spread or saltatory movement. The message is jumping between the nodes of Ranvier. Okay? While in here, the message needs to move along the whole neuron, the whole axon, which makes the spread of the message slower. So again, myelin sheath is an insulator. It does not conduct a nervous message, so the message cannot move when there is a myelin sheath. So this is why the message needs to jump in a saltatory manner. Okay, again, look right here. This is the axon. The message jumps. The message cannot move through the myelin sheath cells, so it jumps between the nodes of Ranvier. So one reason for increasing the speed of the message, the nervous message, is the presence of myelin on an axon. Another factor affecting the speed of the nervous message is the diameter of the axon. So look at this. The diameter of this axon is between 13 and 20 micrometer, while in this, the diameter is between 2 and 1.5. This one is larger. So look at the speed of the message. It's also larger. This is why we say that the diameter of a nerve fiber increases. So when the diameter increases, the speed of the propagation or the transmission of the message increases. So there is myelin, the speed is increased. The diameter is larger, so the message is faster. Another factor, there are three factors. And the presence of myelin, this is one. Second, diameter of the axon. And the third one, temperature. Okay? Temperature of the nerve fiber. As temperature increases, the speed of transmission of the nervous message increases. Three factors affecting the speed of propagation of a nervous message. Look at this slide. Both neurons can conduct a nervous message. However, the one having a myelinated axon conducts it faster.